Hey everyone, and welcome back to another indie MMO devlog. I decided to edit this one a bit differently, so let me know what you think. So I added a few new weapons, basically 2 new bows and then a staff. I made one that shoots 2 arrows at a time, like this. And I made one that shoots 3 arrows at a time, like this. And they're also like skinned slightly differently, and you can see the different skinning inside of the inventory. Then I also made a staff that shoots these massive orbs. I don't like exactly how these turned out, so I'm probably gonna change these, and I think I'll animate them as well. And then I also did a little bit of cleanup for how I organized this stuff. So I ended up making like one big config map for every single item. So now it'll be a lot easier to just like change one property on something and then like get a whole new weapon. So if I go down to the weapons, you can kind of see what that looks like. So I have like the sprite defined. I have the way at which it's held. Like for example, you might hold something like a bow or hold something like a sword, and that just changes how it gets animated. And then you have all the weapon stats that get used to generate projectiles based off of the weapon. So when you switch weapons, it basically changes this weapon component. And then when you attack with that weapon, it ends up spawning different projectiles basically. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to like add in new weapons in the future. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Today I think I'm going to work on adding a bunch of mob types. This is my task I have open for it. As you can see, I'm very well planned. Because I'm using an art pack, it's a little bit easier because I just need to kind of create the placeholder files and animations for all of the different monsters that I'm planning to add. And then after that, once I have the artwork in place, I can start adding the actual code for each one. And then once they're in the game, they'll probably just reuse the monster behavior from another monster right now, and then eventually move it over to something more unique. One thing I'm a little bit unsure about still is I do want a little bit of composability in terms of like what the monsters, or I guess how the monster sprites get created. So it might be nice to like divide these up to have like different legs and then different bodies and then build them that way. So I could just like put a mask on top of this guy and then he would look like that, you know? So then that saves me a lot of space in my sprite sheets. I don't think it's too big of a deal right now, so I'm just going to make them completely different because I do want their attacks to be slightly different. But I think eventually I will break these up into like probably legs and just body, and then any like accessories that go on top of that, like a hat or something like that. That way I can get like some pretty easy like enemy variants without having to change too much. What's up, guys? I just added the skull mask to the game as like a new little hat thing that you can wear, so that's pretty cool. It's kind of weird, you can kind of see his eyeball. I can't hover over it, but you can see his eyeball behind it, which isn't terrible. I think I actually just need to shift the mask backwards like 1 frame and it'll be fine. Let me go ahead and do that and then we'll see what it looks like. I think that looks fine, honestly. And there's a little bounce now too, which is good. This is fine with me. I'm more than happy with this. This looks a lot better. All right, we got our new monsters in the game. Look at them go. Little mini guys running around. We'll eventually change their behaviors because right now they're just a clone of what the regular orcs do. So I'll probably change everything up a little bit just so there's different enemy behaviors, different enemy movement patterns, things like that. That will be next, but at least we have little animated guys running around inside. Recently I've been working on trying to make it so that monsters could predict where you're going to be. So the blue square that you see appearing, that's where they're like aiming at based off of where they think you're going to be. Yeah, there's still some problems with it, I guess, but like it's like around where you would be, but it's not exactly where you would be. So I must have something wrong with my math. Like I would have been way over here, you know, by that time. So like sometimes it hits, sometimes it predicts it pretty well, but it's not terrible, but it's like there's clearly some issues, but at least monsters are a little bit better at aiming at you. All right, I went ahead and put one of the monsters in just the overworld so I could practice, or I could see how he shoots. So I've changed the code a little bit, so now it doesn't try to predict where you're gonna be. It tries to just shoot it exactly where you are. So hopefully what we'll see now is this blue box, whenever he shoots, should kind of constantly follow the player. Okay, that's pretty good then. So there must be something wrong with the like lead calculation then. Like the predicting where he's going to be calculation. So let's look at that part now that we kind of isolated it a little bit. All right, I was able to get the aiming thing fixed, I think. It's not perfect, I guess, but it's pretty accurate. It's a lot better than it was before, at least. It degrades a lot once I'm running away from the bullets, like here. but like the bullets probably aren't going to reach you if you're running away from them anyways, so unless they're really fast bullets. But yeah, seems like it's working a lot better now, which is nice. So let's see how the dungeon goes with the new changes in place. Well, at least I feel like I have to like actually use my ability. Before I could just run in a circle and they wouldn't be able to do anything. So this is a big improvement, I think. I'm pretty happy with this. I think I want to have different levels of accuracy though. I think I want to have ones that, obviously there's some that are unaimed. They just like shoot in a circle. And then I also want to have ones that aim where you are. And then I want to have ones that aim where you're going to be. So right now we have, everybody just aims where you're going to be. But I think it would give it a little bit more variety if it aims where you were. That way it forces you to move. Oh geez. These guys are just deadly accurate. It's too much. Bunch of snipers. So cool. All right. Let's check that box off. All right. I ended up going through and changing the attack animation on all of our little characters here. So I basically just wanted to make it very obvious that they are attacking because the animations weren't cutting it. And until I have more time to draw like actual like attack animations for them, I'm just going to make them very saturated on the last frame and then make that frame a little bit longer just to make them like pop a little bit more while they're attacking. So they kind of like freeze like this with a saturated color, do their attack, and then they pop back to like their normal idle animation. So I did that, and then I think I might actually add a like death animation. I think I'll do the opposite. I'll take like one frame and then make them desaturate over like 3 frames, almost like they're crumbling to dust or something. I figured I would just show you how it looks in the game. The extra saturation attacking thing. Run at something, now you can see they pop a lot better. So at least a little bit more telegraphed the attacks are, I mean. Eventually they'll have like full-fledged animations and maybe they'll hold weapons or something like that just to make it a little bit more obvious that they are actually attacking. But I needed some way to just quickly indicate to the player that something is attacking. And it doesn't need to look like perfect just yet, but just as like a placeholder, this worked pretty well. So yeah, let's go work on adding the death desaturation animation. So the death animations are there. Doesn't actually like do anything, but it just makes them stop and be desaturated. So yeah, I don't know. I think it looks fine, except for the fact that they need to actually like disappear. It would be nice to have like a little crumble or something like that. Maybe I do just make like a little crumble away thing. Yeah, let me do that. That seems pretty easy to do. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that really quickly and then we'll see what it turns out like. It would be nicer if they didn't, if they like exploded a little bit more, you know, or like wisped up a little bit. But at least they don't just disappear now. So it's a little bit more obvious that like, oh, this thing didn't just disappear, it actually died, which I like. So yeah, we're getting better. All right, I made one change, which is that projectiles now don't die. Or they don't die on timer. Previously, they would die on a timer, and I just wanted to experiment around a little bit and see what it felt like if they just never died. Mostly, I was interested in how the dodging changes when you're like this. So now you can't just run backwards. If projectiles get behind you, it's a little bit like you have to like go in a little bit more, I feel like. Yeah, I like this a lot more actually. Even though it's such a small change, just that having the colliders last a little bit longer makes it a little bit more interesting, because now it's like, oh, I have to actually like dodge these a little bit. It's like there's stuff moving around all the time, rather than before where it would just be one big burst of things and you would kind of just dodge for like 1 second and then you just like attack enemies. Now I actually have to dodge constantly. So I like that. I actually like that a lot. It also makes me want to like hide a little bit more. Like I don't want to go in that room because I know it's going to be just, oh gosh. Yeah, there's like a lot more to dodge now. Yeah, this is a lot better actually. It's crazy how one little change like this makes so much difference. So I figured I'd give that a shot to see how it felt. I also want to make it so weapons can have a little bit of a cadence to them. Like you might shoot like shoot twice and then but one right after another, and then have a longer cooldown, which is something I don't have. Right now, every attack is the same and there's one cooldown between them. So we'll eventually add that, I think, but I think I'll go back and tweak all the projectile lifetimes that monsters shoot and make them just live a lot longer. I went ahead and added dungeon walls. So now you have little walls that kind of make everything feel a little bit more roomy. You can even go behind them too, which is kind of nice. A nice little touch, I think. Actually this sort of thing took such a long time to do, but I'm happy I ended up doing it. Yeah, so now there's little walls that kind of guide the outer edge of of each room. They also like connect the two rooms together. So it's kind of added after the fact. I basically, once I have all the floor tiles put down, I go around all of the edges and add a wall, like a dungeon wall object, which is this object type. And that gets rendered all to one big buffer. It turned out pretty nice. I will probably change the art a little bit on it because I don't think it's a little bit too like smooth, you know? So it doesn't really feel like a dungeon. You feel like you're kind of in like a sterile environment now. I'm pretty happy with it overall. That's all I have for this week. As always, an absolutely massive thank you to all the supporters on YouTube, GitHub, and Patreon. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.